Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke, but I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
I just spent an hour with Jesse Saperstein and shared a little more with Brian about my evening with Jesse. And I remember now, I think he was 29, and I remember he had to check in with his mother, and Brian cracked up. So there you go.
It just go back and listen to that story, because that little piece makes it all better.
Yeah. Anyway, now I've been so excited to share what I'm about to share, and I'm going to try to do the best I can to explain a little bit about how my mind works. And I love that you just heard how Jesse's mind works, because it just really speaks to, I mean, I can't relate to the male mind in some ways, but in some ways I absolutely can. I think I've talked about before, and I hate to repeat myself, but I want to give you some context. I knew, I've been claircognizant my whole life. I didn't know what it was. I just assumed everybody was like that. I just know things. It's not psychic. I'm sure I could enhance all my clairs, but I'm sort of fine with where I'm at. Right before my mom died, she died in May of 24. She lost her sister and an aunt I was close to in November of 23. It was a really, really interesting time where I could really tune into my intuition and tune into outside energy. I was writing some unbelievable things. They were more or less channeled. My mother was channeling. It was a really wonderful time, a lot going on. I believe we're all intuitive, women in particular. Whether we're just more dialed into it remains to be seen. I know some men who are very intuitive. So I have this thing that I do now where I do meditate. I ask questions of my higher self. And what I was doing in between that period of the two women dying, I've sort of gotten back to, where I just let something come up and I follow it I go down the rabbit hole, not for hours and days, but an hour, and I'm inevitably I'm headed somewhere. In recent weeks I talk a lot about Carl Jung, and the person that came up for me that I am wanting to learn more about and know a little bit about is Nietzsche. And Nietzsche was many things. So I started to think about him just yesterday morning. And I was very quickly led to one of the women in his life. And Nietzsche, supposedly syphilis got the best of him, turned into some sort of dementia, and the last 11 years of his life were in a very chaotic state, and he ended up dying in his 40s, which I didn't know. So that's just a little side piece. So this woman, Lou Salomé, was someone that he became in contact with. In 1882, Nietzsche, at 37, had an intense intellectual friendship for less than a year with a woman, Lou Salomé, 21, who had been raised in a German community in St. Petersburg and who had come to Europe to study. They had a falling out in December. Nietzsche, in poor health, wandered and wrote until 1889, when he had a breakdown and was taken to an asylum. He spent the last 11 years of his life insane, so they say. Some people say dementia. He was quoted during those years of saying, "Didn't I once write great books?" So, Lou Salomé. I'll tell you what. I've never been one to think, wow, I could have been that fucking person, but Lou Salomé was a force. She was one of the first psychoanalysts, if not the first. I don't know. I'm learning myself. I read about her. I ended up watching a movie that was made, I want to say 2016-17, about her life. I watched a foreign film and read the captions. It was unbelievable. She was able to study based on, she was the youngest of 6, as am I, and a female. A lot of synchronicities with this, and I'm not trying to make it weird, but I got to tell you, as excited as I get because of Nietzsche and Jung and all the guys that I like to commune with, this woman surpassed them all. She was often proposed to, turned many men down, including Nietzsche. Something very funny, and this is just in the spirit of synchronicity. I have to share it. Hold on a second here. I should have been ready for it. One of the pictures I found with her, can I just hold, here's a picture, and I gotta do the full effect.
We could put it up on the screen too, though.
Okay. I think I brought the flogger up before. I carry a flogger and I have a bullwhip when I do my sapiosexual dominatrix performance. So here is a picture of Nietzsche. I forget this guy's name, another man. They had a funky triangle going on. A lot of sex going on in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And here is... I guess the camera's left, I can't tell, with Salome with a whip in her hand. So now I'm brutally intrigued. I'm watching the movie, and the movie addressed that very picture. They were trying to live together in a communal way, to share brain power, so to speak, and it was very frowned upon. Both men had proposed to her. She had said no to them. So they went to have a traditional photo taken, and Nietzsche supposedly said, let's spicing this up. I guess he had a wild sense of humor, and he put them all in that cart, and she grabbed a whip, and the photographer shot it, and that's all she wrote. So she was a muse to Nietzsche. I'm sorry I don't remember the other person's name. She was a muse to Freud. She knew Jung, but she aligned more with Freud. Freud was very influenced by her. I'm going to read you a little more because I am still learning. She did not want to get married. She ended up in which I said, according to the movie, very popular at the time, in a, wasn't false, wasn't mock, but a sham marriage, to an older man who thought once she married him, she would change her mind about having more intimacy with him. She did not. She ended up taking on a much younger lover when she was 36, a poet, Rilke. He was 21. The poems he wrote to her were just, unbelievable poetry. And they were together for a few years. Then supposedly she had another young lover. She became pregnant. They insinuated in the movie. She self-aborted. Regardless, the child was aborted. Don't really know that much about it. And then the older husband, he had a relationship with their maid, housekeeper, and she got pregnant. And Lou ended up adopting that little girl, I don't know at what age, and that little girl became her sole heir. And a lot of what she wrote about psychology, specifically narcissism, shocker, was destroyed by the Nazis after she passed. When I tell you this this stuff happens to me a lot. And I firmly believe, depending on what you seek, you find what you seek finds you. One of those assholes said that. So I want to share, the things that I brought. I firmly feel whatever I'm about to read is what I'm supposed to read. And I could read to you all day about her. And Salomé, Salome, Lou Andreas-Salomé. Andreas was the mock marriage name. She put that, ironically, she hyphenated, but put the mock name first, her own name second. Oh, and by the way, her father was a big supporter of her. Her mother, they hit heads, but her father, he died young and was a big influence in her becoming what she became. Her exploration of narcissism encompasses a nuanced analysis of gender dynamics, offering groundbreaking insights into female psychological resilience. She viewed women as inherently possessing narcissistic qualities, considering this trait not as a flaw, but as essential to their inherent worth and empowerment. This form of narcissism in women, according to Salomé, is not characterized by self-aggrandizement, but rather manifests as a type of self-sufficiency, serving as a protective mechanism against societal limitations. In her seminal work, Two Orientations, Narcissism, 1921. So we're only 100 years into psychology, and, I just think it's really antiquated. Oh, I should finish reading this first. In her seminal work, she articulated this concept as a means for women to navigate and compensate for social constraints, especially in their relational choices and expressions. I've never had a woman's mind turn me on in my life. I just could not believe this. And I continued down the rabbit hole. And one other thing I want to be very clear, because you know how much I want the energies between men and women to be, we got to do better for one another. We all want better. I mean, I'm on the planet for men. I know a lot of men are on the planet for women. And this is what I want to say, I don't want to be divisive between the genders. Salomé's exploration of female narcissism, though groundbreaking, was framed with the binary gender norms prevalent in the early 20th century. Her interpretations, while challenging the status quo, did not entirely escape the constraints of these norms. In contrast, contemporary theorists like Judith Butler have expanded the conversation around gender, arguing for its fluidity and performativity, which move beyond the binary framework. So I just want to make sure I always say that. Butler's work invites us to consider how Salomé's ideas on narcissism might be reinterpreted in a modern context where gender is understood as a spectrum rather than a binary. So my mind was fucking blown. What about you?
It's very interesting. I'll have to go a little bit deeper. I'm one of those ones too. Like, I'll be reading that at 11 o'clock tonight.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, I think more than telling you about Lou Salomé, and I was told by someone who's I dabble in things. I've had my chart read. I've had tarot. I've had Akashic. I've had that stuff done because I believe that people are, similar to myself. They have these gifts, and people will tell me things, and I'm one of those. I'm not a naysayer, and I'm not suspicious, but I'm like, I have with my intuition, things come in threes. Like I think I've explained it before when I was explaining the high visibility painting. Something comes to me once, Then it comes to me a second time. And then it comes to me a third time. And that's when I sort of say, okay, that's for me. And I get this impression that whatever energy guides me is laughing at me because I need so much proof. But I'll tell you what, this person, energy, Lou, made me believe like there's this woman with these men around her. They depicted it in the movie, but I mean, can you imagine being at that table with those male minds having, and these men, they all wanted to fuck her and marry her. and she's like, no. And, ultimately, what a fucking life. It mirrors my life, but in a very modern, 100 years later way. I did not want to get married. I didn't want children. I did eventually, and no disrespect. I absolutely thank God for my boys. But, I just was so adamant about what I wanted to do. And it was always about others. I wanted to do well enough to help others. If you would have said, in 30 years, you're going to be talking to people on a podcast, I would have said, oh no, I'm too introverted. So everything I wanted to do was to be able to do well enough that I then could turn and help others. And she, I think, didn't become a psychoanalyst officially until she was like 50. And I believe she died around 72. And I believe it was like 1930. And my mother was born in 24. My father was born in 27. So I pay attention to all that stuff. I don't go to the races with any of it, but I am just really intrigued by that particular time frame. And I don't know the greats well enough to know, my brain doesn't maintain when was Nietzsche, when was Jung, when was so many others. Rilke was the poet that, you want to read love poetry, that man could write. It's just such an amazing, it has such an amazing effect on me. And I also am very aware of the dimensions beyond the human experience. So it's been very interesting to tie the fourth and fifth dimension with the soul's journey, because they're so integrated. And the gifts that I have, I give people the chills. People will be around me and something will happen. In the next episode, I plan to talk about a few things like that where it's just, my line has become, people will say, oh, well, you're right. And I would say, I'm not trying to be right. It's just a really different perspective on what we're experiencing in the human experience. That sounded trite, but, and again, I was totally motivated. Like I've never been motivated before when I found Lou. And I look for the female gurus. I look for her. I seek this. I sought Mary Magdalene, and it's very important to me to, even though I'm more often than not guided by men, that's our history. Whereas there's these incredible women that, we all know why, that just didn't get the recognition, that were actually more influential than the men. These men were really, she changed Freud's studies, and both fascinated with sexuality more so than Jung was. And Jordan Peterson came up for me again. Jordan Peterson, I don't listen to him a lot, but I know enough I know philosophically, and I don't agree. It's not a hook, line, and sinker thing, but he has talked about Jung being more internal, and Nietzsche, he compares their minds in a way, one time where I was listening, and Nietzsche was more external. And that is the shortcoming that Jung had versus Freud, where Freud was more external about this stuff, if you will. So, time check. 20 minutes. Man, I like that mark. So let me just see if I want to tell you anything. And Salomé, like I think of Timothy Chalamet, the way Adam Sandler and Nikki Glaser said it that night. So that's how I remember her name, Salomé. Just always trying to explain how my mind works. All righty. What do I want to say? I hit that. Oh, and then again, a lot of sex going on. There was, I don't know if it was amongst the thinkers. I mean, I actually was thinking, well, Carl Jung is getting laid. What's his wife doing? So she was in a triangle with another woman with Carl. Some people allude that, they say that, another woman in the mix made for two women to be able to connect that were really intelligent. I mean, if you think about it, it's sad, but true that here was this one man with two lovers, and the two lovers were actually, that was their only opportunity as women to explore the nature of what they were, psychoanalysis and all that stuff. And what a brutal position to be in, but otherwise you don't have the opportunity to have any other female resources. And I think Lou, there's not much described about women in her life, and she disappointed her mother greatly, but not her father. Yeah, I don't necessarily need you to just I want to encourage you to step on the path of facing yourself and looking at the possibility of your own journey. I don't need anybody to adopt mine, but I yesterday and I'll save it for the next one, but I got somebody more on the path, and the path sort of develops out of being over where you're at. I got tired of the chaos and have put myself through 10 years of study and work to get to where I am now, and had no idea how much I had abandoned myself. Had no idea. I was teasing Brian that last week I came in here to talk to y'all after I had peopled the night before, and I really, last week was, for me, tired. And this week, I am so invigorated by a handful of conversations I had, because, I'm in that flow where their conversations I'm seeking are seeking me. And I just really hope that this brings you some sort of peace. But it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard. Wouldn't change it, but it's hard to face yourself and your shadow, as we got into last week. And I think I'm done, but I'm gonna just check again. Oh, okay. This was interesting. Again, what finds me, what I find, however you want to look at it. This was a woman. I believe she's from Idaho, and again, in the spirit of wanting a smoother relationship between male and female, divine feminine and divine masculine, whatever you want to call it. She wrote this, also identifies with being sapiosexual. I had a thought exquisitely difficult. I feel that although most don't recognize it, but most of you have the same preferences, you just don't realize it, which I also feel. I hope I have one great love left in me. I really do, and I'm not throwing in the towel yet. I crave connection that moves slowly, soul first, the kind that builds through presence, not pixels. I long for pheromones and playful glances, the the way a voice softens when someone sees you, really sees you. I don't fall for bodies, I fall for brilliance, for energy, the way a man holds his own healing and still reaches for mine with reverence. But here we are, swiping through souls like slides, trying to find resonance in a digital space where eye contact can't land and depth can't unfold in real time. I've dated men who seem awake, but their wounds still speak louder than their hearts. And I see it all. The inner child beneath the ego, the echoes of their mother's grief, the unspoken codes from their father's silence, even the past lives they've forgotten. It's not judgment, it's just vision. This is the frequency I live in. That's where the third and fourth and fifth dimension come in. That's what I mean by that. Where I no longer need the lesson to learn. I can clear karmic contracts with a single breath. Karma can be instant. And yet I still ache for intimacy, the sacred kind, not just touch, but truth, not just desire, but devotion. So how do I meet him here? The one who doesn't flinch at my depth, who can breathe through triggers and sit in stillness, who knows that peace isn't boring and slow. Love isn't weakness. She's more of a demisexual, that it takes her time. I don't want to insinuate that all women are like that, or men, as the case may be. Maybe he's also wandering through this strange digital dream, searching for someone he can't explain, but would know instantly if she looked into his eyes and said, "There you are." And it's just particularly meaningful because Jesse said to me today, he called me gimlet eyes, and it was just lovely. And our friendship is lovely, so for what it's worth.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the Bouncing Balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.